Welcome back to Session 4 of the Childhood Obesity Prevention and Treatment Learning Series. Today we are going to be talking about meal planning. My name is Melissa Moses and I'm a registered dietitian with the Pediatric Weight Management Program, Brenner Fit, a part of Wake Forest Baptist Health, and I've been with the program for over 5 years now, working with families on changing behaviors and habits using this DOR model that you guys have been discussing in the past 2 presentations. So I have no disclosures, and none of the presenters, planning committee members, faculty, and staff have anything relevant to disclose either. For today's learning objectives, we're going to really talk about the benefits to meal planning. So why is meal planning so important for really everyone to do? And then we're going to talk about the roles of the parents and the children when it comes to meal planning. So just as we've discussed with the division responsibility in the previous presentations, we're also going to hit on the roles for meal planning with this presentation. And lastly, we're going to talk about the strategies to meal planning. So taking all of the information that we've heard today, we're going to talk about how to help our families really implement meal planning and what you can do to help them. So how do you decide what is for dinner each night? So I want you guys to really think about this. How do you personally decide what is for dinner each night? And then what I want you guys to do, I want you to take a minute to just talk through the comments, especially the frustrations and what gets in the way of cooking meals at home, or what you may hear your family say whenever they come into clinic as far as why they don't eat at home, very often. So let's take a minute to discuss, and then we'll talk about some of the things that you guys might have said. All right, so how do you decide what is for dinner each night? What we find from our families, typical comments that they might say is, it's hard for us to cook dinner at night. We don't have anything planned ahead, and when we don't have anything planned ahead of time, it makes it hard to get things on the table. A lot of us have extracurricular activities that, we take our kids to after school. There might just not be a lot of time during the evening time to get a meal on the table and eat dinner at home. Or we might be picking up something quick, on the way home, so we can eat it when we get there. We also find that our families, if they have a picky eater at home, it makes it hard to figure out what to cook. So all these challenges are things that we hear from our families, and it really goes into the decision making of how to decide what's for dinner each night. So let's talk about why it's important to meal plan. So one of the things that I love to share with families is that it really saves time. So for families that have a lot of stress with, the evening, lots of extracurricular activities, meal planning really saves them time. It avoids the stress of the last minute planning, which we've all done before. Buying groceries for several meals, limiting grocery store trips after work. So by doing this and not having to stop at the grocery store every night on the way home, we really are saving time. And then, if we know what we're going to have for dinner that night, we can think ahead and we can thaw food in the fridge ahead of time. We can get other family members involved in the cooking. If you have a teen and they have interest in cooking, having a meal already planned ahead of time lets that teen know, what they're going to be cooking that night, getting them more involved. Meal planning also saves money. So if you create a grocery shopping list, it makes budgeting effective. If you're sticking with your list, you're definitely going to end up saving money, because we've all gone into the grocery store and not had a list with us, and we end up picking up items that we don't really need. And then it also, shopping for what is on sale definitely helps you save money. So when you plan ahead, you can plan for meals that include items that are on sale that week at the store. You can plan for leftovers, and that's so important to have a plan for leftovers, and it's a-okay to have that one night. You can cook a little bit more at the meal the night before so that you have leftovers available for the family to cook. You can plan for when you go out to eat. So be intentional about when you're going to go out to eat, because a lot of times we go out to eat just because we don't have a plan in place. But if we plan to go out a week, maybe it's once, maybe it's twice a week, whatever works for you, it's going to save us money in the long run, because we're only going those certain nights that we planned, so it does save us money. And meals don't have to be elaborate. Meals can be simple, quick, and inexpensive. I tell families, if you want to have sandwiches one night for dinner, have sandwiches. If you're eating on a budget, we have to take that into account. It's a-okay to include canned or frozen items into your meal. It does not all have to be fresh. It can be inexpensive. And then a family of 4 who might spend $20 to $30 on fast food can really make the same meal at home for $10 to $12. This slide right here shows you an example of eating at home versus eating fast food. So on the left, you have a McDonald's meal. So it's a meal for 4. There's 4 cheeseburger singles, 4 medium fries, and 4 soft drinks. And all those total up to over $16 plus tax. And then on the right, you see kind of the same meal purchased at Walmart. So you've got your ground beef, you've got your buns, your cheese, your french fries, your soda, and all that adds up to a little over $11 plus tax. So right there, you're saving money just by eating at home. And what you may or may not have already noticed is that on the Walmart side, you might even have leftovers. So you could have leftover hamburger meat or buns or sliced cheese or even french fries, to have for another meal. So you're really stretching your money whenever you're eating at Walmart. And also, you might even be eating a little bit healthier, because your ground beef might be leaner. You're probably you might not be frying your fries, you might be baking your fries. So all in all, it works out to eat at home versus eat at fast food. It takes a little bit more effort and planning, but really does save you money in the long run. Here's an example of eating at home versus eating out. So on the left, you've got the meal for the Chili's Grill and Bar, and then on the right you have a meal purchased at Walmart. So on the left side, this would be a family with 2 parents possibly and 2 children, because you've got 2 kids meals. So you'll notice that one parent had the honey chipotle chicken crispers, which is around $10. Then the other one had the classic sirloin, which was $11. And then there's 2 kids meal, 1 pizza and 1 chicken for $5.50. And then they got 2 drinks. So that added up to probably over $40 with the tip. And then on the right hand side, what we did is we thought, well, two of the family members got chicken, so let's make a meal with chicken. So we've got this bag of crispy chicken tenders. That is probably from the frozen section. That's a-okay to have. Then we've got the 5-pound bag of potatoes. We've got the broccoli, we've got mandarin oranges, and then all that adds up to around $14 plus tax. So what a big difference. I mean, you're saving around $24, $25 just with planning ahead and purchasing a meal at Walmart. And what you may or may not notice about this meal on the right is that it really has more variety to it. So you've got your broccoli and you've got your mandarin oranges to it, which really help balance out your meal. And if you're eating at the Chili's Bar and Grill, well, you might be missing some of those parts of your meal. So it potentially could be more filling, you know, to have the meal at Walmart because you're having all of those different parts. This slide shows an example of an unplanned family meal. For those families who typically eat out most nights of the week, this really shows an example of what that looks like. So again, this is for a family of 4, and we'll just kind of briefly go through it. So what you'll notice is on Monday, the family went to McDonald's. It looks like they got 2 combos and 2 Happy Meals, and that added up to around $18.50. On Tuesday, they got Pizza Hut, so they ordered a large pepperoni pizza, and that was enough for them, and that was around $13. On Wednesday, they actually cooked at home, so they had spaghetti, and with the noodles, the ground beef, and the jar of spaghetti sauce, that was $8. On Thursday, they decided, well, we're going to go and eat in an all-you-can-eat place, so we're going to go to Golden Corral. So they got 2 buffet meals, 2 kids buffet meals, and that was around $41. On Friday, they decided that they were craving some Mexican. So again, the parents got 2 adult meals, and then there were 2 children meals that were purchased, and that was $27. And then on Saturday, they went to Subway because they decided, well, we need to be healthy this day, so we're going to go to Subway and get some subs. So each of them got a sub and a combo meal. And then on Sunday, they decided, well, it's going to be fend for yourself. So somebody had frozen pizza, another person had a Hot Pocket, another person had Easy Mac, and that was around $9.40. So the total cost that week for just their dinner meals was close to $150. And really, if you look at those prices for those meals, for a family of 4, that's relatively, you know, relatively cheap to eat for that amount for a family of 4 for the week. So then we'll go to our planned family meals. So you may already notice the cost difference at the bottom of this slide. So we went from $150 to $76, which is a very big difference. So these were planned meals. So for a family that planned ahead, these are just some of our Burner Fit recipes that we have that we had the pricing for all the ingredients. So on Monday, they had the Chipotle chicken quinoa bowl. They added some canned fruit to make a balanced meal. That was around $17. On Tuesday, they had the Thai chicken with peanut noodles with canned fruit, $8.50. On Wednesday, they had our fish tacos with our broccoli cauliflower salad, which was a little bit more at $15 almost. On Thursday, they planned for leftovers. So just like I talked about earlier, you can definitely plan for leftovers. And one of my coworkers, she calls it planovers because you're planning to have leftovers. I've even had people say, you know, that one night a week that we're going to eat leftovers, you can pull anything out of the fridge that you want, and that's what you can have for dinner. It's kind of clean out the fridge night is kind of how you can talk about it. On Friday, they decided they wanted breakfast, so they made the mini egg quiches, and they also added fruit with it again. And then on Saturday, they decided, okay, we're going to plan to have takeout. We're going to get Little Caesars pizza. And then because we're planning ahead to eat out, we're going to plan to purchase bag salad and have it with some dressing. And then on Sunday, they decided to have the shrimp noodle bowl with the canned fruit. So that was around $15.79. So all of that added up to $76.61. So it's about a $68, $69 difference just from planning ahead. And so, what you may have noticed about this too is that it had a lot more fruits and vegetables with the meal, and that's because they planned ahead. What we find whenever we don't plan ahead, we typically leave those items off of the meal. All right, so let's go to our next slide to talk about another reason why meal planning is important. The third reason to meal plan is it adds more variety to meals. When you don't plan, you end up with 2 or fewer food groups, which is less fiber, fruits, vegetables, and nutrition. When planned ahead of time, more attention can be given to make a colorful and nutritious plate. So having all of those different food groups right there can really add more variety to the meals and make it more filling. It doesn't have to be expensive. It can be cheap. It can be simple. You don't even have to cook. So like I was saying before, if it's going to be sandwiches at dinner time, well, maybe you add something simple to the side to add a little bit more variety. Maybe it's carrots and celery with ranch or some strawberries on the side. Whatever you want. Something simple to just add a little bit more to the meal. So think about this. What do you notice is left off of your plate typically? You don't have to share, just be thinking about it. What we notice as Americans is we tend to leave off the fruits and vegetables part of the plate. We do really well with getting the protein and grain part of our plate. But what we find is that when we don't plan ahead of time, really the fruits and vegetables are what gets left off. So by planning ahead, you can plan to have a more visually appealing and more flavorful plate. And for families, we don't expect them to get rid of foods that they typically cook. It's all about just adding to the plate. So we don't expect them to have to cut out their French fries or their macaroni and cheese. If they typically have chicken with macaroni and cheese, what we want them to do is just add more to the plate, to add more variety. So maybe they start by adding a piece of fruit, or maybe they start by adding some vegetables, or maybe they end up adding both fruits and vegetables. All that adds more variety to the meal and makes it more filling in the long run when you have all those different components to your meal. Let's take a look at these 2 meals. They speak for themselves, really. What do you notice about these 2 meals? Let's pause for a minute and let's discuss, and then we'll come back. All right, so you've had some time to think. So looking at these 2 meals, they're similar. They both have pizza, but what you notice on the right side is that it has more variety to it. So just as I said before, it doesn't have to be an elaborate meal. It can be something quick and easy. So this was a frozen pizza that was popped in the oven because the family didn't have time to cook that night. So they had their frozen pizza, they popped in a frozen bag of steamed vegetables, and they added some fruit on the side. And there they had all the different components of their meal to add more variety to their plate. And What you may notice is that the right side is more visually appealing than the left side, just because you have all those different colors. So the more visually appealing it is, the more satisfying it is for you when you're eating it. The more mentally, appealing it is. So you'll also notice that on the left side, there's 3 pieces of pizza. Well, on the right side, there's only 2. So, when you add those items to the plate, you may not need 3 pieces of pizza to fill you up at the meal. The roles with meal planning. What we talked about in previous presentations is the division of responsibility. So with the division of responsibility, there's always a parent role and a child's role when it comes to feeding and activity. The same goes with meal planning. The parent is responsible for planning, shopping, making it happen, and the children can offer meal ideas, help with shopping, and help with cooking. So the parent is responsible for the what, the when, and the where. And the parent is ultimately responsible for meal planning, but the child can be involved in the process. They can offer ideas. They can even be involved in the shopping and the cooking of the meal. And by doing this, it helps them become more interested and open to the ideas that you want to cook at home. This is especially true for picky eaters. So if you have a picky child, if they're involved in picking out what meals are going to be provided for the week, they're more likely to go along with the plan. Now, part of the parent's role is to be considerate without catering when they're planning the meals. Some meals may be a favorite with the child and some meals may not be a favorite. The goal is to have something at each meal that the child can make do with. So an example of this might be you're trying out a new entree, and that's going to be soup. And with the soup, you're going to add some bread, some fruit, and some milk. The child may not want to try the soup, and that's okay. And the reason why is because they have other parts of that meal that they enjoy and that they can make do with. They like all the sides that you provide, so it's okay if they just eat bread and strawberries and drink their milk for the meal. That's a-okay. You've done your job of providing, and they do their job of deciding how much they're going to eat or whether they're going to eat that meal at all. Now, you don't end up offering them a substitution because that doesn't end up teaching them, that it's important to eat the meal that the parent prepares. So getting the child involved in the planning process of the meal planning can definitely help meals go a little bit smoother in the family. The steps to meal planning. So how can we help our patients actually meal plan? So there's 6 steps that we have created. So step number 1 is create a meals to remember list. What this is a list of all the family's ideas that they like to cook and eat at home. And the great thing about this list is it's just a centralized place that they can easily pick their meals that they want to have for the week whenever they are meal planning. And we're going to discuss this a little bit more in the next slide as far as how to use this list. Step 2 is check your kitchen for food you have on hand. We don't expect our patients to go out and purchase all new food. We really want them to just cook their normal foods that they have in their house at first before they expand to new things. And using the food that you already have at home is a great way to save money when you're on a budget. So if your family has a stockpile of meat and frozen vegetables in the freezer, well, how can we help them, with using those items? It's a-okay to use canned fruit, canned vegetables. That's a great way to be budget friendly and also add more variety to the meals. Step 3 is actually sit down and create a meal plan for the week. So getting everybody involved with creating this plan, like I said before, can be really helpful, getting the kids involved. It's important to really think through this too. You know, it's not just about writing down the plan. It's also about figuring out, when are you going to write down that plan? When are you going to get together and talk about the plan for the week? Is it going to be on a Saturday afternoon? Is it going to be on a Tuesday before dinner or after dinner? So really thinking that through with your patients as far as how they're going to implement this plan is important. And, you know, what we talk a lot is, it doesn't have to be new recipes that you add each week. When you're first starting to meal plan, it's important to just plan for what you know how to cook. It's important to really not worry so much about the what at this point. You know, we've said that meal planning saves time, it saves money, and it also adds more variety. But variety doesn't have to happen right at first. It might just end up happening because they want to add more variety to their meals. But at first, we just want them to plan for what they normally have. Step 4, create a grocery list. So sit down, write out the items that you want. So when you go to the store, you'll stick to your list and save money. Step 5, plan a day to go to the grocery store. So just like we talked about with the meal planning, as far as planning a day to meal plan together, plan for whenever you're going to go to the store. Is it going to be on a Sunday afternoon? Is it going to be on a Friday morning? Whatever works for that family. Let them be in charge of deciding when that's going to be, because they really know themselves best. Step 6, make it happen. Go grocery shopping. Thaw food if necessary. Cook or go out to eat according to the plan. Just because you don't follow the plan one day doesn't mean you've messed up. Tomorrow is a new day. So it's okay if one week doesn't go as well as they wanted it to go. That's fine. Next week will be a new week. And that's the whole point of creating a new habit, is it takes time and effort to really make it happen and be consistent with it. But the more consistent that they are with it, the more routine it becomes. So we all have had those bad weeks where things just don't go as planned, and that's just fine. Just get right back on track. Here's the meals to remember's list like we discussed in the slide before. So this shows that what a family would do is they would write down their favorite meals that they like to cook. So ideally, you would want the family to do it together if they could, just so that everybody could get their opinions and ideas written down. If you were to use this in your clinic, if you had time, the family could do it in your clinic, but they very well can do it when they go home too. It's just a great tool for them to use, and it's really like a hub of all their recipes or meals that they like to eat. So they could write down their entrees and their sides, and if they end up trying new recipes that they really enjoy, they can write those down as well. This is a sample meal plan. So this shows that your patients what a meal plan would look like. What I really love about this is it shows that on Tuesday was your plan over, so your leftovers. So they really planned for those. And on Thursday was your out to eat. So you plan to go out to eat, which is important, especially if you're trying to save money. Also, what you may notice about this is that it's not just sloppy joes for dinner or pizza for dinner. All of the meals have other items added to it to add more variety to the meal, which I love. So more colorful, more visually appealing. And then in the bottom, you'll see evening activities. This is great to write this down because families sometimes don't realize all the things that they have going on during the week, and writing them down can help them see, oh, maybe I don't need to cook a recipe that takes a really long time that day, or maybe I need to do something in the crock pot that morning because there's not going to be enough time. What you'll notice about this is that the days that they had soccer were the days that they did the planovers and they went out to eat. because they knew that they wouldn't have enough time to cook during that day. So it's really important to just think through what the schedule is for the week to be able to figure out what you're going to have. And then we have the blank weekly meal plan. This is what you could give to your patients so they could make their own meal plans for the week. You would be welcome to make copies of this as you wanted so that your patients could even have multiple weeks of meal plans if they wanted. And what I love about this too is they can save these sheets of paper and they can repeat weeks, which is great. To be able to just repeat a week that you did a few weeks ago and not even have to worry about planning again. You just reuse your meal plan. This is an example of some recipes that we're going to be providing you guys. We have a recipe packet that we have created. The great thing about this recipe packet is all these recipes can typically be cooked within 30 minutes, which we know that families don't have a lot of time to cook, so it needs to be something quick. All the recipes, I believe, are around 5 servings, and we've also costed out the recipes. So you'll notice for this one, it's a little over $7, and we also costed out per serving size. And the way that we get that information is we cost it out through Walmart, and items that are dry goods, like your spices and things like that, your breadcrumbs, those things will be costed out just for the amount that we use because it's not going to go bad anytime soon. Items such as your fresh produce, your meats, and things like that, those will be costed out for the whole item even if we don't use all of it. So that's how we calculate the cost, and typically our recipes are $20 and under. So this one's rather cheap at $7.89. Obviously it doesn't show the side items on it, so if it had the side items, the strawberries with looks like salad right there, it still would be fairly inexpensive, which is great. What to know about recipes and handing out recipes to families? Families love getting recipes. What we have learned in BrennerFit is recipes do not solve it all. They're always looking for recipes. They want to try new things. You give them the recipe, they come back, they haven't tried the recipe. So just know that just giving out recipes really doesn't do much for a family. You know, they might add a new recipe from what you've provided, but it's not a cure-all, solve-all. Let's practice. So in your booklet that we have provided you guys with the PowerPoint presentations, you will notice that at the end of this PowerPoint presentation in your booklet, there is a Meals to Remember and Weekly Meal Plan blank sheet of each. What I would like you guys to do is take some time to think about meal planning for yourself. So you may already meal plan at home, or you may not. Everybody's in different places. What's great about this is it gives you time to really think through how your patients would do it if you were talking with your patients about this. And so take some time. What I would like for you first to do is look at the Meals to Remember sheet and write down your entrees and your sides that you like to cook. If you don't like to cook, it may be a little bit harder. But just think, like if you were to prepare some more meals at home, what would that look like? It doesn't always have to be something that you cook. It could be sandwiches or something simple. That's a-okay. The idea is that we just start with where we are, and that's important too for your patients. Start with where they are, their favorite family meals. And then after you have done that, I want you to actually plan for those meals. So plan for the days of the week. So preferably I would like for you to plan for a whole week. And then think about your evening activities just as we've discussed in the previous slides. Think about if you want to plan to eat out or if you want to do leftovers one night. Let's write all that down. Um, and then we'll discuss it. So I'll give you guys about uh, 15 minutes to do that. At this point, you have finished creating your meals to remember and your meal plan. So I just want to briefly think about that real quick. What that was like to complete the meals to remember list and create your meal plan for the week. What I love about this activity, as far as you guys doing it, is it really helps you put yourself into your patient's shoes whenever you're talking with them about meal planning. You may have noticed that it took longer than expected, or maybe it didn't take long at all. You also may have thought, well, man, it would be really nice right now to have my family involved in this, and maybe you want to take this home with you and have your family help you add more ideas to your meals to remember list. Maybe you want to get your kids involved in figuring out what meals you're going to cook for the week. Really sitting down and taking the time to do it is all the difference. So as we get to the end, we want to think about helping a family get started. So what do we do first? Well, we ask. We ask the family where they would like to start. Families are all different, which is great. Every family has things that they do well with. Every family has things that they struggle with. And if it's meal planning that they're struggling with, it may be different parts of the meal planning that they're struggling with. Maybe they don't know what to cook whenever they do have meals. Maybe it's they've meal planned in the past, but they just feel like they don't have time to make it all happen. So really figure out, what is the family struggling with? What is the piece that they're having a hard time with? And families know best where they need to get started. So ask the family that question, because what we know over and over again is that if we allow the family to decide what they would like to do, they're more likely to follow through and do it. As providers, we get into this rut of feeling like we have to offer so much information and set so many goals with our family, and it can be very overwhelming for the family. So let the family be in charge of this goal and creating it. So ask the family where they would like to start. Number 2, offer. So if they're not sure where to start, that's whenever you can offer suggestions. So if they don't meal plan at all, it might be great to make the meals to remember sheet. Create a grocery list. Talk with them and brainstorm about figuring out a day that works to plan and to shop. Really nailing down those times for them sometimes can help them really think through, well, when am I really going to have time to do this? And then we haven't talked about this, but purchasing online if the budget allows. There's lots of great options out there right now. Some you have to pay for, some you don't have to pay at all for. You might just have to have a minimum order to purchase the groceries. What's really great about purchasing online is you can add all the items to your cart, and then you can see how much it's going to cost you. If it's too much and over budget, then you just remove it from your cart. It helps make sure that you stick to your grocery list. Every time we're in the store, we tend to see things that we don't really need and we purchase them. So it saves money in that way, and then it saves time too. It takes a little bit to add the items to your cart, but you're not having to walk through the store and shop for the items. And a lot of times when you use online grocery shopping, it can even save your past orders, or it can have favorites of things that you typically purchase so that you don't have to search for them all the time. It just populates it for you. So I love the online shopping just because it saves time and it saves money. And then our last one was it adds more variety to your meals. So you're planning ahead, so you're able to add all those items to your cart to add more variety to your meal. So ask and then offer are the two things that we really talk about a lot. So we're at the question slide, and what I would love for you guys to do is just spend the last few minutes discussing together what questions you might have about the presentation, anything that came up that you felt like you needed more information on, or weren't quite sure about something. I would love for you to email the questions that you have to our BrennerFit email, which is brennerfit@wakehealth.edu, and we will get back to you with those answers to your questions. All of the handouts or teaching tools that we discussed are included in your booklet, and you will be given versions of those in PDF form to be able to use for your patients. Thank you so much in listening to the meal planning presentation.